Private sector crucial foundation of Nigerian government, says Vice President Shettima. Federal government is exploring ways for United States to fund mining projects in Nigeria, says Dele Alake. Oil prices fall, extend slide after OPEC Plus cuts underway. Asia market slide has investors assess factory activity, private surveys. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Bakar, your guide. Well, let's begin by telling you that Vice President Shettima says the private sector forms an integral half of the crucial foundation that holds the Nigerian government, which is committed to sustaining an environment which fosters entrepreneurship and innovation. The Vice President stated this while commissioning some projects, including the Ijele 93.1 FM radio station, phase 2 of the Sir Emeka for Foundation, Touch a Life housing project, and the meter factory in Anambra State. Commending Anambra State for its private sector driven development, the Vice President restated federal government support in addressing ecological challenges in the state. Vice President Shettima also praised Governor Charles Soludo for his understanding of the importance of a thriving private sector and acknowledged his efforts at addressing challenges such as gully erosion and improving road infrastructure, among other developmental strides supported by the federal government. Now, the African Development Bank says Nigeria has the potential to lead lithium-ion battery manufacturing. AFDB President Akinwumi Adesina stated this in its revised economic outlook for 2024, which was recently published by the bank. He noted that this potential is feasible with the discovery of over 3,000 lithium pigmatite bodies in Nigeria. The FDB also stated that the country can leverage its gas reserves to support the net zero transition. As part of efforts to address poverty and vulnerability challenges in Nigeria, governments at all levels have over the years initiated several policies to support economically disadvantaged people. One of such policies is the child benefit, which was designed to provide financial benefit to families with children towards their education, health, well-being, and economic stability. The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, while inaugurating the Inter-Ministerial Technical Working Group on Child-Centered Economic Development Policy Simulation in Abuja, reassures self-government's commitment to keeping its promise of inclusion and eradicating poverty.
And it should not be so. The world is wealthy enough to ensure that every child gets educated, and that is a clarion call.
The federal government is to create 21 million jobs for Nigerians between 2023 and 2027 and lift 35 million people out of poverty. Ignatius in court reports that this is coming from the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Bakola, along the launching of Nigeria's Decent Work Country program.
That existing and new jobs in both the public and private sectors are productive and provide opportunities for career progression to deliver a fair income and social security for the family.
And those are issues that has to do with fundamental principles and rights at work. So the work that we have been doing with social partners, with the ministry around issues of child labor, for an example, those are key fundamental issues.
I think it is significant that Nigeria is currently the chair of the ILO Executive Council, and what is called the governing board.
Decent work is that which we ensure that jobs are created for women, men, and youth. And that will also include job for person with disability.
So for us, it's an affirmation that we make and we continue to make, and we can count on the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association and also the private sector.
And now to our discussion segment, the proposed 2024 budget, the proposed 2024 budget of renewed hope prioritizes human capital development. Has President Bola Ahmed Tinubu believes that human capital remains the most critical resource for national development, while efforts at building the skills of Nigerians fit for industry through expatriate engagement is ongoing. The federal government also seeks to get an estimated $2 billion revenue from more than 200,000 skilled expatriates employment in the country. Chibuzo Okereke, a public policy and legislative analyst, joins us to talk on the federal government planned policy of gaining more from expatriate skills, as well as getting expatriates employment contribute more to the national purse. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Nigerians.
Well, to begin, since assumption of office, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been around the world conversing for investments into the country. Now, there is the conversation that when these investors come in, they hardly employ Nigerians as a result of absence of skilled workforce. And we have also had a situation where indigenous companies go for expatriate skill. How true is this and why?
Well, I think there are a number of factors. But that is the reality that we face today in the country. And on many fronts, you can think, well, the world has become one global village where skills and manpower can easily move from one country to another. On the other hand, to emerging economies of the world like Nigeria and countries in the Asia and other African countries, you could see most of these countries have huge natural resource and also, have huge economies of scale. You have a number of foreigners and expatriates, coming in to take over management cadre responsibilities in the companies, organization, and what have you. If you look at this, you will discover that there are a number of issues that have been put forward. One, some locals have argued that, the expatriate quota is being exceeded and that is affecting local productivity opportunity for Nigerians. And then others have also argued that examples from other countries like Switzerland, like Singapore, Cambodia, and Cuba have creatively started capturing most of these expatriates into their revenue net. Also, you look at the fact that in Nigeria, it's about $2,000 annually that many of the expatriates pay for resident and alien permits, which is per annum. And if you also look at the amount they are paid for their, in quote, skilled expertise, there is huge disparity between what Nigerians are getting and what they are also getting. And as you know, Nigerians who are in China and other parts of the world, they are not getting that kind of benefit. If you go there and establish a business, for instance, in China, you will discover that apart from a few leadership roles, most of other position of responsibilities are occupied by the locals. So in Nigeria, I think what this policy seeks to deal with is the fact that if you believe that outside the diplomat and those that are, if you believe that those in the manufacturing sector, in the construction sector, hospitality sector, that you don't want to use locals, you want to, put in expatriates there, then there has to be adequate revenue for the government. And this is critical because Nigeria is a destination country. A lot of foreigners are interested in taking advantage of the huge business opportunities here. So we can't allow that to remain fallow.
Don't you think that this argument should also be extended to our manpower development institutions, that's our tertiary institutions, that maybe they are not doing enough to actually prepare our skilled manpower to take up these jobs?
No, well, a number of issues. One, we actually have skilled manpower. That is the fact. The demand and supply around it is what we can deal with. But whether Nigerians have skilled manpower, we have a lot of people who are skilled. And also we have, because if you look at, for instance, what we are dealing with is a situation where we can have a proper trade-off, right? If people insist that they are going to bring people, foreigners, to work in critical sectors where Nigerians are supposed to work, it may not necessarily be because we are not skilled. It could just be because of prestige or the fact that people tend to love or believe that foreign expatriates can do it better than the locals. On one hand, we may start to believe in ourselves more. On the other hand, we can't also allow it to be fallow. We need to trade off by getting revenue and then use it to balance off that. But in terms of investing adequately in manpower development, yes.
Or do we as a country require expertise for construction, supermarket, restaurants and retail? Can Nigerians take up many of those jobs?
Exactly why I think that everybody should commend this initiative, because these are things Nigerians can do, very well and deliver on it. And of course, most Nigerians are in Dubai, in the UK, in the US doing the same thing. What I say is that though we have expatriates doing it in the country, but we have not captured them into the revenue net. And Nigeria is in distress as long as revenue and resource is concerned. So we can't allow any sector at all where we can tap in. And mind you, this particular policy design has already done a forecast that an expected $2 billion will come in if we now capture this set of people into our revenue net, and we can use those revenue to now net off issues of unemployment or provision of critical public infrastructure, for Nigerians. Yeah.
Okay, we have the Local Content Act and now Technology Startups Act in place. How far can this go in positioning Nigerians to take up more jobs and reduce unemployment?
Well, a good one. First is that because of the high demand for expatriates and the fact that even the expatriates themselves are so much interested in Nigeria because of a lot of economic opportunities, we have the FS pressure. Now, when this policy comes to force, I believe that it's going to help reduce that pressure on the foreign exchange, so that Naira can have appreciable, stability. On the other hand, if you look at the local content law, we need to have a proper operational mechanism to ensure that the public officers who are responsible for one level of system control or the other ensure that everyone is captured. Because if they don't do that, then the local content law will continue to be in breach of it. The local content law is very rich, is very robust, but implementation has been a problem. So where we have this gap, and I think it can help to address, I'll give you an example. We had this Chinese Nexim Bank loan for the railway modernization project. On the concessional agreement itself, you will discover where China made it clear that standard of technology, supply of technology, and certain categories of manpower are to be supplied by China, because they are giving us loan to do that railway modernization. The same thing.
So they're taking our jobs.
Yeah. So if you are an expatriate, you are interested in being in Nigeria, you must be captured in the revenue net of government.
So how do we play tough with this policy? It's not just making the policy, but how to make sure that it's properly implemented.
Yeah. So I think it's in the works. I believe that the ministries that are promoting this, I think Ministry of Interior, Ministry working with Immigration, Ministry of Finance, I think Office of the Attorney General, and others. So you could say that this is high level government, and there is already a collaboration, which gives it political, feasibility. So what is important now is that the government should communicate the nitty-gritties, to the people, and then go into proper policy dialogue to ensure that everyone who has responsibility or role. Let me tell you, for instance, the local content law provides that 60% of barrels which we have the raw material in Nigeria used for crude oil production should be sourced from the country. But certain people collaborate with foreigners in the country, take the same barrel out of the country, and we import it back for the same purpose.
Yeah.
So we can make sure that patriotism is activated in Nigerians. Without patriotism, economic sabotage will not go away.
Now,
and as long as we don't show that fidelity, we will have a big challenge implementing any policy.
Now let's talk revenue. I understand that around $2,000 is what is expected to be
currently
paid by every expatriate annually, as a combined expatriate residence permit and alien card fee. How else can government ensure more contributions by expatriates into the national purse, as has been done in other climes?
Yeah, that is exactly what this policy design is tending to address. That beyond this annual contribution, there are certain other taxes, certain other conditionalities or requirements in terms of local manpower supply, in terms of local material purchases to be able to energize our economy, and then relevant taxes and levies that respond to global financial demand of today, because things have changed globally. We cannot continue to deal with the same rate for a group of people who are controlling management level in construction and manufacturing and other aspects of our economy. And for me, this is mutually beneficial, because one, you need security, you need a good host community for your businesses to thrive. So if this happens, then the demand will not be on the government to apply the resources that will be generated through this to improve the socio-economic condition of the environment where these businesses operate and thrive.
Chibuzo Okereke, thank you for sharing your thought with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's now see how the Naira is exchanging for other currencies. Well, the federal government is to add 31 million metric tons of food to the national food supply chain. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security says the expected production will combat food inflation and hunger and reduce poverty in the country. Musa Aliu reports.
creating the enabling environment for production of more seeds, and these include availability of early generation seeds. This can only be achieved when our national research institutions are strengthened, and we have a good capacity building strategy for breeders.
We will be about 400 million in less than 30 years. We need to scale up our production.
Well, now let's take a trip to the commodities market. Energy oil prices fell in early Asian trade on Friday. Extended losses after OPEC Plus producers agreed to voluntary oil cuts for the first quarter of next year that fell short of market expectations. Brent crude futures for February fell 14 cents to $80.72 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 12 cents to $75.84 a barrel. Saudi Arabia, Russia, and other members of OPEC Plus, who pump more than 40% of the world's oil, agreed to voluntary output cuts of about 2.2 million barrels per day for the first quarter of 2024. And our stocks trading on the floor of the Nigerian stock exchange ended last trading for the week in positive territory with our share index of 71,419.87 basis point. At the close of trading for the day, 361.1 million volume of shares valued at 10.2 billion naira in 5,640 days exchange hands. Market capitalization stood at 39.08 trillion naira. Asian market slide has investors assess factory activity. Private surveys. Details of this and more with Bosade email. Bosade, what's happening in the market?
Hello Musa, welcome to the Global Market Review. European markets were higher Friday after closing out their best months since January amid global rally in stocks and bonds. DAX closed 0.07% high, FTSE 0.60%, and CAC 40 of France also topped 0.38%. Asia markets closed Friday trading session low, breaking ranks with Wall Street, which mostly advanced on Thursday amid mixed economic data from across the region. Nikkei dipped 0.17% at 33,431.51. The Hang Seng Index also dipped 1.25% at 16,830.30, while the Shanghai Composite topped 0.06% across 3,031.64. US stock futures were mostly mixed early Friday after the Dow Jones Industrial Average notched a new 2023 high and capped off a best month in more than a year. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.13%. The S&P 0.03%, while Nasdaq Composite dipped 0.07%. It's the same with African markets. The South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia closed positive, while Tunisia closed marginally negative. That's the Global Market Review for the first trading day of December. I am Bosode Ebo. Back to you, Musa.
Well, thank you, Bosode. Well, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on the YouTube and the NTA's channel. The program returns on Monday at 3 p.m. I'm Musa Bakar. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.